Hey, this is Zach with Biker's Edge, and I am out today at the Kaysville Wilderness Park. I'm going to be riding and testing the Ibis Ripmo AF. This one is with an NX build. Pretty cool little bike. It's really cool to have something on such an amazing budget that you get so much performance out of, and some really cool parts as well. Bombs away. So standing up, cranking through. First little punchy climb. It's getting up just fine. One of the things I'm always trying to tell the difference on, whether the efficiency is affecting the climb or whether it's going to be coming from somewhere else, be it tires, be it kind of the overall weight of the bike, and what's really making that bike climb well or climb poorly. Initial impressions, you have to see how things work out here as you get a little bit more of a ride. But one of the first things I'm noticing is the tires. This is coming with Maxxis Assegai tires on it in a 2.5. They're also the Exo Plus version, just giving it a little bit more durability, but it also adds a little more weight. And I'm wondering right off the bat if I'm feeling a little bit of that weight. So far though, one of the things that stands out the most is just, I think Ibis has nailed the geometry on this bike. On the head tube angle, we're 64.9 degrees, pretty slack. I'm riding an extra large right now. Reach is 495, which for me, it's a good happy spot. I really like it. Going through all the numbers, 435 millimeter chain stays, right there in a good average. Not too long, not too short. What that chainstay will do, if you get longer, it will feel a little bit more stable with speed. It also makes it just a little harder to get around switchbacks. Not quite as tight and snappy. On the other side of that, as you get shorter, you'll get a little more nimble, a little quicker in the tight stuff. But as you're going faster and rougher terrain, it's not as stable, not as confident. It is something that matters. And that 435 is a great middle ground. Again, the Ripmo AF NX build. So with the NX build, I think you get a really solid part spec, especially when you're considering Ibis is kind of a higher end boutique brand. You're gonna get an NX drivetrain. You're gonna get SRAM Guide T brakes, DVO Diamond front shock, and DVO Topaz rear shock. This is some seriously good suspension at this price range. So one of the things I'm most impressed with this so far is that climbing platform. It is so composed. You just, for something with 147 millimeters of travel, you just don't get any bob out of it. And no matter what, you're gonna get a good amount of traction and efficient pedaling. Coming up on a steep little hill. I'm gonna try it standing up this time, see how the traction does. Little bit of slip, but the efficiency is great. I don't feel a whole lot of bob. You know, and DW suspension link on here, it's just fantastic. What I think is affecting that though is these tires. I've ridden the Assegais a few times, and I just can't say that I'm a big fan. I think you can find tires out there with equivalent, if not better traction, but stuff that can just roll so much better than these. You can really feel the weight. All right, so just a handful of years ago, Ibis came out with their first version of the Ripmo. I would call it more of a long travel trail bike. I would not call it an enduro bike. The head angle was just a little steep. They were one of the first companies though to run a short offset fork, run a nice steep seat tube angle. And man, I think that's what really made that bike ride well. Ibis decided that they wanted to kind of make it a little more aggressive. They started with this Ripmo AF. They stretched out the head tube, or the top tube, gave it some more reach. They also slacked out the head tube about a degree. They also changed the leverage ratio on the shock. So before, it had a kind of a falling rate, and you could not run a coil on it. So they changed that, a lot more progressive rate on it, and now you can run a coil. And then they released, just a couple months ago, the Ripmo V2, which is 99% just a carbon version of this bike. So you're gonna get pretty well the identical geometry, really similar feel, just on a carbon frame. So pound or two lighter. That's kind of the progression of this bike. I always liked the Ripmo, the V1. And on the next generation with the AF and the Ripmo V2, I really feel like you can ride them just a lot harder with very, very little as far as the downfall. Got Otis out today. So standing up, cranking through, man, does accelerate well, feels very confident. Gives me a good idea for how this bike feels at speed. Just very confident, yet still easy to change directions on. Oh. Okay, we got a tight section coming up here. See how this does. Got around that corner pretty good. This is a pretty long bike, but still doesn't mind getting around in this sharp stuff and the tight stuff. Yeah, I don't feel like I'm moving a freight train through here. Off that jump back there, everything felt really solid. Suspension's not like crazy plush. That's not a bad thing. Feels controlled and fast. Oh yeah, pops off easily, so you're able to really get the most out of those ellipse. Feel like you can get into a corner well. Got a little kicker, a bit of a drop to here. See how the landing is? Good landing. Soaks things up well. You can definitely feel that progressive suspension. Doesn't just blow through the travel. It really ramps up. So yeah, I mean, one of the best things I can say on that descent is it held its line well. Felt pretty natural. Sometimes you get a bike that gets a little too slack and it starts trying to kind of fall over in corners. And you get too steep and it gets scary in the corners. Ibis has done a great job of finding a good aggressive, we're gonna say aggressive middle ground. Really, I like the pop on this bike. It's not afraid to pop up off something. Oh, pretty good little landing there. Going to the corner hard. Good traction. Again, I'm not saying the suspension's like big time squishy, but it's very effective. It really works well. A little bit breezier than I'd like, but bombs away. Suspension quality, suspension feel, I think might be a step above anything else I've ridden in this price range. And just really refined, really dialed and tuned in. It's something where I think it's money well invested. You know, I always like to ask myself, who is this for? I think this bike is for somebody who just wants an incredibly capable bike that can really just shred on the downhills. So far on this, it's definitely something I wouldn't be afraid to go race an enduro on. Absolutely capable, but I also you know, I don't think would kill you on the climbs. I think the bike, the frame, looking at it, and the construction, if anything, looks maybe a little overbuilt, so it's going to take some abuse. The performance is there, it's just a little heavier. So maybe you're enduro racing, maybe you really like some park days, maybe you're a younger guy that's just saved up for a rad bike that you can jump on and that you can really get aggressive on and improve your skills. If you want to try Ripmo out, we've got Ripmo carbon demos at Biker's Edge in a medium, a large, and an extra large. Love to have you give it a try out. And even if you're looking at the AF, I think it will give you an excellent, excellent feel for what that bike ride's like. That's going to be it for today. Love to answer any questions for you if we can. Until next time. Cool. Section.